maybe what's one thing that you've come across so far in the day and a half that we've had here at ASOTOCON so far that might affect service to help a technician be happier, healthier, more productive?
So I would say Patrick Abad's session that he just had, where he was talking about service.
Good morning. All right, so let me tell you about John and Stephanie Watson, two Forsyth County teachers who did it. They saved enough money, they put themselves in a financial position to finally get their dream car, a Toyota 4Runner.
I see what he's talking about externally towards the customers happens internally with the communication, the same way that the dealerships they do a poor job, sales departments, service departments might do a poor job of calling customers back and updates on their status updates on their vehicle, or the scratch analogy that he used earlier. I see the same thing when the systems in a dealership, specifically the service department, don't talk to each other. The ASMs aren't using the right codes to be able to transmit. I forget what the function code was in CDK, but there was like 2 advisors used it, and everybody else just wanted to do everything via phone calls and actually talk to technicians. So the technicians had to walk. They were sharing 3 of them would share 1 phone, so they had to walk over 2 stalls to go pick it up. And then, oh no, it's for somebody else. And then they had to stop what they're doing. And all these interruptions, and you know better than anybody, and I had an FJ Cruiser I worked on, when you get interrupted and you're in the middle of something, you're trying to think through where you're at on that vehicle, taking a dash apart, for instance, and trying to remember where you were and which one of those bolts on the 11 millimeters, or is it metric or whatever it is, that put it back in. What tool were you using? When an ASM's calling you and taking you off your game like that, there can't be anything more frustrating. Or when they do all those things, they get interrupted with some upset customer they haven't called back. Technicians still back in the bay waiting for a call back, sitting on their toolbox. They've already written up the work, tried to sell the work, and now they're sitting there for 45 minutes. And then some other technician comes back there and they go, oh yeah, your service advisor is just, yeah, I saw him there out in the drive laughing it up, talking to a couple other people, and not making good use of their time. So I think that what everybody's preaching here about customer service, taking care of customers, the internal customers, that needs to be applied to in the same way. Because if you think customers' time is important, everybody's talking about a 45-minute sales delivery or a 60-minute oil change. I learned the hard way, and then used it as a superpower of how technicians look at time, how they manage time. And I would say from personal experience, whatever, especially for variable managers or general managers that have come up through variable, technicians don't want to, it's not about the money, or I'm paying you X amount per hour, or I gave you X amount of hours. It's about not wasting time, at least from my experience.
100% agree. I use the analogy flat rate mentality, right? You come up in the shop, it doesn't matter whether you started cleaning cars or pushing a broom, it doesn't matter. Flat rate mentality, which means every step that we take as a technician, whether it's literal, the literal steps that we take, 4 steps is 5 seconds, or the steps that we take in the diagnostic tree, or the steps we take to do an MPI or a video MPI, any of those things, if you flat rate mentality it is, how can I do this as well as I'm doing it now, doing all the steps? And either reduce the number of steps, cut out steps, but still maintain the level of quality of the repair. The same thing applies to everything and every position in the dealership. How do I reduce the number of steps I take while still maintaining a certain level of quality standard for both the repair or the service or the sale or whatever the case may be? To your point, Patrick Abad's example this morning, the scratch on the car. 3 days, the example is they bought the car on Friday, drove home on Friday. By Monday afternoon, after finding the scratch on Saturday, they're 3 days beyond, and it was just
after they call on Saturday, we're too busy. We're closed Sunday. Now it's Monday.
It's completely upside down, right? The same concept applies. Your analogy, 45 minutes waiting for a go-ahead on a repair. That concept applies. Like, why is it taking 45 minutes for a go-ahead? Well, are they not calling? The other flip side of that is, I say try to take accountability as a technician. I use Clementi, who was on the show a couple of weeks back.
Because my biggest thing is, you always want to have stuff cooking in the crock pot. That's what I always tell everybody. Take all these, take this car that's a warranty diag, right? Take it in, diagnose it, send your recommendations. That's sitting in your crock pot. And then bring your curb strut in, or your alternator that's in, bring that in, bust it out. By the time you're done with that, you're going to have something else coming out of the crock pot. You can say to bring in. You know, always try to find a way to stay busy, but take as much as you can, you know.
Throw the car outside, put it in the crock pot, bring another car in, get working on the next car, build your crock pot, fill it so that at the end of the day or at the middle of the afternoon, when you get the go-aheads on those cars, you've got 2, 3, 4 jobs to do. And as long as you've communicated what's going on to both the ASM, to the dispatcher, or whoever, you've got 2 or 3 cars in the crock pot. You can't fix them all by the end of the day, but that means that they can now manage the expectation of the customer. Say, hey, we can get this done, but it's going to be the end of the day tomorrow. We're going to get you in a loaner car. Hey, this is going to be done by the end of the day at 5 o'clock. I'm going to call you at 3 o'clock for an update. Hey, this car's going to be done in 90 minutes. We got the go-ahead, we got the parts, we got everything. Leave it on.
Assuming parts.
Assuming
part of the
parts
deal,
are there, part of it there. But communicate.
Right.
And I think that was the big deal that Patrick was trying to communicate. A, make sure that somebody who's at the bottom rung has the authority and the capability of taking care of the customer. And in this circumstance at service, you're talking about the service advisor.
Right.
And the technician. Make sure they can take care of the customer. Give them all the resources they can to take care of the customer.
And that also means giving them the right information.
Correct.
He also said when the standard gets lowered and they start accepting a lower standard, that everybody starts saying, well, why am I going to work that much harder if this person's not working that much harder? And I've experienced that personally in dealerships where I go into a certain dealership, the morale's very, very low. You can also see it in the CSI. You can see it in the fix right the first time. You can see it in the comebacks, and it's all of it's holistic, right? And so as I start asking the technicians, shop foremen, what's going on, well, nobody's making any money, right? And everybody just focuses on money. But I learned this with Toyota years and years ago. They brought in this Gallup Q12, and it's a series of questions, and it's, do I have a best friend at work? Look at weird questions that you would think, especially for technicians, right? They look at them like, but it's, I feel that I have the tools, like you just said, I have all the right tools to do my job correctly when I need them. I don't have to go searching for them. The tool room that's all just piled in a thing, and I feel my coworkers are committed to quality work. I feel that my supervisor cares about me as a person and my development. I feel like there's a career path for me. All these weird questions, and no matter what any dealership I went into, I'd hand those out to the technicians, and they would all scoff at them and laugh. But almost in every case, number one was always, I don't feel my coworkers are committed to quality work. But nobody would ever say it. They're like, no, these are great techs. They're the best. They're doing this, and everybody said that, and everybody was feeling it, but nobody said it because they were like, well, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about him.
Exactly.
And it just evaporates that whole commitment to quality. And that's what I was thinking about as Patrick was saying that. Now I'll say this, that dealership I'm mentioning, which I'm not going to mention the location, but the shop foreman that was the most vocal, I said, okay, well, if the person who's in charge doesn't really want to have the conflict and the confrontation of holding people accountable, and I don't disagree that they should be, so I'm going to put you in charge. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. Now, once he did that opened up his eyes. I think he just retired, actually, but he took that from dead last it's in the Southeast United States, dead last of all a certain brand to top 20 in the country. And all those metrics, and the turnover was just nonstop, and it ended the turnover. And they all started making so much more money, but it wasn't because they were focused on the money, it's because they were focused on the commitment to quality to each other.
So you're looking at one of the things that I talk about on a regular basis, authority and autonomy. Shop foremen especially, and I think that's probably the biggest missing link in a lot of stores across the country, across the globe, to be completely honest. We've lost the dad figure in the shop foreman, the person who is going to praise when all the good jobs happen and who are going to discipline and hold accountable when all of the bad stuff happens. But it's not going to be done in a way that you're going to lose your job today. Correct. It's done.
It's a coach.
This is, I'm going to support you with whatever decision you make. It doesn't matter what decision you make. If you are making a decision to try and better for the customer, you make that. I will never discipline you for that, but I will hold you accountable for the consequences of the decision you made.
Yes.
So I will never do it in front of a customer. I will never do it in front of somebody else. What's the phrase?
Coach
in public and punish in private?
Yep.
So I will never do that in public to you. But I will take you aside later on and say, hey, these are the things that happen. I'm really proud of you for making the decisions. I'm really proud of you for doing this. But you can't do it that way again. This has adversely affected the customer. This adversely affected the repair. This adversely affected our business. So these are the steps that I'd like you to take the next time this situation arises.
And I'll tell you how a lesson that I learned that can avoid all of that. Praise in public. punishing private. I was saying coach. When I got into that store, I couldn't figure out, because the most talented technician that we had, who was also our DS or diagnostic specialist, was the shop foreman. I'm trying to save money, and he was there till 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. His wife's wearing him out. You know, what are you doing? And he's like, look, I got to get this stuff done. And he's taking all the comebacks and trying to like fix them after the fact to keep everybody happy, because the morale is getting low. I don't want turnover. I can't afford to lose any bales, or I'm going to be here even longer. And I'm talking, you know, mentioned the same things you're just talking about. And as I got him and the service director into the room together, and we ran one of these personality profiles, he answered it that he doesn't like conflict. He wants everybody to be happy, extremely detailed, you know, extremely patient to be, you know, which is why he's such a good DS. He was our best technician, but we figured, just like a salesperson, same thing. I'm gonna take my most talented technician at fixing things and let him lead people. Two different skill sets. Now, the gentleman, we'll call him Bill because that was his name. He was a really good technician, but he was a phenomenal leader. And they would run through a brick wall for that dude. And it was a bad fit. And the problem is that DS actually ended up leaving, because it was just, when he went back into the role, you know, it's a hard thing psychologically. So when you over promote people like that and don't really put enough thought into it and are not strategic about it, we lost a great technician in the process over that decision, trying to save money and and selling that guy on the vision. Because, you know, he goes, I told you, you can still do this, and you got this in you. And he didn't have it. He goes, I never wanted this, and I'm miserable. Right. And so a lot of that coaching is avoidable if you just find the right person. That person is probably in anybody's shop right now. They just don't know it.
I think one of the biggest challenges that I think we face in the store right now, doesn't matter whether it's independent or whether it's a franchise store, is that we fail to ask the team who they think should be the leader.
Yes.
If you get that question does two things. One, it means you're placing trust in the team, which means they feel like they're being acknowledged, they're being heard. Even if you don't take everybody's advice, you're still asking the question and you're listening to the answer. And two,
and you'll find out who the real leader is.
You're going to find out the real leader is in the quick, because more than likely the same name is going to come up at least half the time.
Yeah.
And more than likely, when you go to approach that person, they're like, no, I don't really want to lead. Perfect person to lead.
That's exactly right.
Because they don't want to lead, they just want to do. Now, there's a fine line between not wanting to lead and not actually wanting to lead, because then they're going to just push it off to the side. But if they don't want to lead because of power or authority or autonomy or anything like that, now you're going to get somebody who's actually going to care for the, wait, why are you asking me this? Well, 7 guys out of our 12-man shop said you should be the leader of the shop. Oh.
And if it's not you, it's going to be this person or this person. And in many cases, they're like, well, no, that's not an option.
Yeah, absolutely not, right? So that's buy-in. That's, who said it yesterday? Somebody, I can't remember who said it on the stage, but somebody said it on the stage that if you get buy-in from the team and asking them questions to tell you what to do, then not only are you going to support the decision once you say, okay, the team has said this, let's see how this works. We're going to provide the resources.
Know better.
Right.
I mean, it's like, why wouldn't you ask?
Why wouldn't you?
Right.
But we don't ask questions. And that's one of the things that seems to come up in the last 2 days so far here at ASOTOCON, is that we need to ask customers and our internal customers as often as we do the external customers as to what's going on in our business and how to improve. So,
and I think everybody needs to stay curious, because everybody's not curious enough about everything.
Yeah.
They're outside
curious,
business,
not
inside.
judgmental.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
Awesome. And that's come up a couple of times in the last 2 days too. Innovation, curiosity, and accountability, really.
Yeah.
So to that point, I really thank you. I asked this question to every guest I've ever had on the show. What's your one piece of advice for a technician to be happier, healthier, more productive?
To not internalize things and to be more vocal, because I would say that service direct, really anybody in leadership at a dealership, they've got so many moving pieces. And it's not right, but they always think no news is good news. If somebody's not saying anything, then we're fine. If there's something that's, they need to propose whatever the issue is with not that they have the ultimate answer, but just at least with a solution. Might not be the right solution, but at least wrap it up with a solution. It'll go down easier, but don't assume that your leadership in the dealership is reading your mind and knows. If anything, they're probably oblivious and dense, and they're not tuned in to what you're seeing so clearly. So it's your obligation and your duty to bring it to their attention in a productive way.
I appreciate that very much. Productive, professional, productive, proper communication. And like Claude Silver said yesterday morning, it's not a soft skill, it's a power skill to communicate. That's
Absolutely.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.